Yes, my people, welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all doing well. Now in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys a trade breakdown on how I managed to catch this trade over here, which netted me a total of $8,700 on my live 200k funded account. And today is literally my payout day, and I'm going to go ahead and request this payout live with you guys. Now this was caught on my 200k live funded account with Breakthrough Capital, and make sure you guys use the code BTC for 40% off all of your evaluations with Breakthrough Capital. Also make sure you guys go ahead and join this free Discord server. We host plenty of giveaways. I send all of my trades in here, wins and losses, whatever it may be, and so many channels that you guys can go ahead and use to go ahead and benefit yourself. It's a very nice community, unlike a lot of other trading Discord servers out there which are very toxic. So make sure you guys go ahead and join. If you have any problems, literally tag me in the main chat. I'll be around. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Now as always, we start off on the higher time frame. I say to my students all the time, if you know where the higher time frame is going to go, all it is from there is simply dropping down to the lower time frame, figuring out an entry and going from there. Now if we go over to the daily time frame on the NASDAQ, you guys have seen that NASDAQ has been very bullish. However, it's also at the time it was at all-time highs. Now because of that, usually I don't trade, because at all-time highs you usually get lower quality market conditions. However, my setup was still valid in this scenario over here. Now the first thing I noticed was that we had this daily fair value gap over here, and if we go down to the 4-hour time frame, notice how the 4-hour was respecting this daily bullish fair value gap and this 4-hour fair value gap as well. However, you guys can see price is also respecting this bearish fair value gap over here. Usually in this case, and I teach this inside of Project 30 as well, I tell you guys when price is respecting two opposing PD arrays, don't trade. Why? You're going to get lower probability market conditions. However, in this case over here, I still managed to predict the whole New York expansion. And I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how I was still able to do this, even though the market was in a phase of uncertainty. Now make a note of this: when we're respecting two opposing PD arrays, you have to ask yourself which one is most likely going to hold and which one is just a fake out. Now you guys can see over here we had these relatively equal highs, and this day here we had news ended up selling down, and what do? We ended up tapping into this fair value gap over here. If I zoom out for a second again and mark out my Fibonacci tool from this low to this high, notice how the market, what had it done? It had rebalanced this range, and what is perfectly in line with rebalance over here? This fair value gap was perfectly in line with an imbalance. We know the market does usually one of three things: either generates liquidity, takes liquidity, rebalances ranges, aka fair value gaps, whatever it may be, and essentially that's it. You just have to figure out which one is it going to do, and the best way to do that is simply wait for it to do one of the two or one of the three, and then from there it's a process of elimination. So this is what I mean: the market has rebalanced this range and it's mitigated this fair value gap. What is there left to do in the market? Take liquidity. Make a note of this as well. A lot of people, they would think, okay, news has just sold so much, it's so risky going counter trend. Or not even that, because there's news, there's too much volatility in the market. How do I know if the market's going to expand? Remember this keynote: news will either manipulate or distribute in your direction. How you know which one it will do? It's very simple. If there hasn't been a manipulation move, news will most likely manipulate. And if there's been the manipulation move, why is news going to go ahead and manipulate it any further? It's going to go ahead and distribute. And again, an easy way you guys can do this is simply see, has there been a manipulation move? Before news over here, what had the market been doing? Generating liquidity, which is what it usually does. Why? Because we're inside of two opposing PD arrays. We're inside of this bearish fair value gap over here, and we're also respecting that bullish fair value gap that I showed you guys earlier. So because of that, the market is inviting in both buyers and sellers. Over here, there's relatively equal lows, and at the highs, there's once again relatively equal highs sort of over here. So all you do in these market conditions is you don't trade. You simply wait for a clear manipulation move. And you guys can see, what did I do? I waited for news to drop, because I know what news does usually. It will manipulate. So we rebalanced the range. We tapped into a higher time from POI and we swept liquidity over here. If I now scale down to the 1 minute time frame, what can I see? First things first, notice how the market tapped into this bearish order block over here and it respected it, inviting in more sellers. Traders that have FOMO would be looking at this and they think, oh, I've missed out on this huge expansion, I need to get in. So they'll try to take an entry off the first POI that the market will go ahead and tap. And the market gives them this little internal breaker structure, faking them out. Now usually this over here would invalidate my trade. However, I still took this trade. This was a very sort of weird trade that I took, and the reason why I say it's weird is because it goes against quite a lot of rules in the book, but intuition had a big part in to play in this. What I mean by that is we're in between two opposing PD arrays. We've already given a lower time from invalidation, yet I still took the trade and I still managed to catch the whole New York expansion. And it's very simple. I had conviction in the drawn liquidity. I knew where the market was going to go. I knew that news was used to manipulate, and what is there now left? Equal highs in the market, and most importantly over here there's a news candle. News candles are strong draw on liquidities for the market to go ahead and take. So because of that, I knew that the market was most likely not going to sell from this point of interest. So I've identified this as my smart money trap, right? A trap to invite in early sellers, or in this case late sellers, for the market to go ahead and use as liquidity, aka all of the stop losses being on these highs over here, to then go ahead and target later on. Now even though we didn't get a market structure shift in this trade, I still took this trade. Why? Because once again, displacement is enough for me. The fact that we have inversed these bearish rally gaps over here and this one over here once again, and overall just started to slowly lead to higher highs and higher lows, that was enough structure for me. So all I've simply done is I've waited for the market to tap into this lower time from POI over here. As soon as the market tapped into it, let's really zoom in and read the finer details of price. If we refine this 1 minute order block down down, notice how the market created liquidity just above it. We failed to tap into the 1 minute order block. We ended up giving a little reaction to inviting early buyers. As soon as we've taken out this low and we got this sort of displacement over here that was forming, I took a manual entry. Now, if I'm going to be completely honest, with this trade, I could have got an insane risk reward ratio. I could have put my stop loss on this low because technically in my strategy that is a protected low. And of course, I could have easily went ahead and targeted that news candle high and got a nice 1 to 10 risk reward ratio, which would have been amazing. However, the only reason why I gave this trade a lot of room to breathe is simply because I understood that New York Stock Exchange Open was going to kick in. As you guys can see over here, it was 2 p.m. and we know when we trade NASDAQ at 2:30, there's New York Stock Exchange Open. And once again, I need you guys to understand the same way with news, how news will manipulate or distribute, New York Stock Exchange acts very similar. So what I mean by this is New York Stock Exchange Open will usually manipulate or distribute. Everyone thinks that it has to manipulate. And even me, I was expecting this low to get taken and then for the market to rally up higher. But because of all the other concepts that I teach in my strategy, I was still able to take a very aggressive entry on this trade and hold it through. Now, once again, speaking about the stop loss placement, I ended up leaving my stop loss on this low down here to give this trade a bit of room to breathe. Why? Like I said, I knew that there was New York Stock Exchange Open, and like I said, that's a pretty big spike in volatility, so I didn't want to risk it with such a tight stop loss. So I ended up placing my stop loss on this low, and in terms of my take profit, I simply went to the 5 minute time frame, and originally I was going to go target that news candle high. However, I just simply marked up my Fibonacci tool, and where you guys can see there's OTE of the range over here, the 0.618, that was my target. Another reason why it was my target and why I didn't go ahead and swing this trade all the way over here is one reason. I was in this trade on a 200k funded account. I was risking just over 1%. And by the time, obviously, I got tagged in and the market ended up flying towards my take profit, I was floating $8,000. Now, yes, I could have went ahead and easily got greedy. Not even greedy, but like I could have easily went ahead and targeted that news candle and made another $8,000, $9,000 and walked away with nearly $20,000. However, I understand that in this game, you have to be realistic with yourself. I looked at that money, I looked at my P&L, and I saw this is money that could change my life. It could do a lot of help for me, my family, whatever it may be. This is money that would generally help me out, right? And because of that, I cashed out. And I would advise you guys to do the exact same thing, especially on a live account. When you're in a trade, some of you guys have never gotten a payout before. Me personally, someone who's gotten so many payouts, extracted nearly $45,000 from the market within 25 minimum trading days, which I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys. But someone like me who has extracted that much money from the market, I'm still cashing out even though it's a 1 to 2 or 1 to 2.5. Why? Because I understand and I respect money. A lot of people, they have no money in their bank account and they're aiming for generational runs. And one day it might land, don't get twisted. But the probabilities of that playing out compared to consistently compounding your payouts is very low. And that's what I'm telling you guys now, especially those of you guys who just got funded or are very close to getting funding. When you're on that live account, especially if it's your first payout, go for 2%, go for 3% max, secure that payout. And I say this to my students all the time, secure a 2-3% payout for your first payout. And remember this, the 10th payout where you make 2% will pay you more than your first payout when you make 2%. You make the same percent, you catch the same trade, but you're making more on your 10th payout. Why? Because by then you would have got more fun. And when you truly understand that and accept it, you stop rushing the whole process. For those of you guys that have never got a payout before, or even for those of you guys that have got a payout before, leave this, like drop a comment. You can agree with me or disagree with me, but let me know in the comments. I'm telling you guys now, when you get your first payout, especially when you've done it properly and you haven't gambled or you didn't get lucky and you actually try your hardest and follow your rules and get your first payout, the second you get your first payout, guaranteed within the next 2 weeks you would have secured another one or passed another funded account. Why? Because you see the same way like with a cat, it sounds a bit mad like we're on a trading video and we're talking about cats. But you see the same way with a cat, when you give it a treat, it rewires its whole brain to understand that, okay, every time I do this, I get a treat. Same with your trading. When you end up getting a payout, you earn real dopamine, earned dopamine. And your brain rewires itself and it understands that, okay, cool, if I follow my rules, if I follow the strategy that I have, then I will go ahead and make money. So let me just start following my strategy more. The reason why a lot of people are stuck over trading is because they get dopamine from the gambling that they're doing. And that's why they keep doing it. Whereas when you're trading properly and you're following your rules as best as you can, of course you're gonna have bad days, you earn real dopamine and that's what makes you a real trader. Anyway, my bad for the ramble. As you guys can see, eventually take profit ended up getting hit somewhere around there. And this trade did go on to go and hit my full take profit. Now, did I look at this as, oh, I fumbled $8,000? No. Wallahi, I was more than happy. I didn't even think about this trade and think, oh, I could have made another $8,000. I was more than happy with the money that I made for the day. And that's why I cashed out. Otherwise, I would have put stop loss break even and went sleep and hope for the best or maybe close the partial. But bro, understand that I was floating a decent amount. Let me take this one home. Especially the fact that it was my biggest payout yet. So as you guys can see, the account is currently up $8,700 with breakthrough capital. And my payout date is literally today, August 22nd, 2025. You guys can see, August 22nd, 2025. And I'm gonna go ahead and request a payout and inshallah, nothing goes wrong because the last 8K payout I requested, it got denied because I broke a rule. So if we go over here and press payout request, okay, it's saying to me I need to submit my crypto information. So I have to go do that real quick. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna go ahead and request a payout now. And there we go. You guys can see it's officially let me go ahead and request my payout, $8,704. If this payout gets approved, it will be my biggest payout yet. Go ahead and download the certificate. Okay, it's not letting me download it. Okay, what's wrong with the flipping dashboard? Okay, it's not letting me download my certificate, but I think that's because it hasn't been approved, that's why. Once it gets approved, they'll probably let me download the certificate. For those of you guys that want to keep updated whether I get my payout or not, join the free Discord server and you guys will see it within the section. And also proof of execution of the trade is over here if I believe. It's not here. I posted it on my story though. I'm sending the editor a screenshot if I can find one of the proof that I took the trade. And yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope you guys have learned something new. And if you guys got this far in the video, comment the word purple background. Yeah? With that being said, it's been your boy FX. Take care, my people.